All right, Chris, one of the best times of the year, one of my most favorite times of the year, the NFL draft. Let's go. Let's get it.
Let's do it.
Panthers aren't drafting today. Simple as that. But
No, but hey, they are drafting this weekend.
They are. But it doesn't mean the Panthers can't be busy today. We'll dive into that, get things started. Let's get this up.
The state of North Carolina covers 53,000 square miles. It is the habitat of the feared Carolina Panthers. Get dialed in, Panthers fans, for an in-depth look at your team, exclusive interviews, locker room insight. Let's huddle up for Panthers Playbook. Here are your hosts, Dennis Cox and Chris Lea.
Welcome back to another episode of Panthers Playbook. That's Chris Lea, Dennis Cox here with you. Thanks so much for tuning in and locking in with us today because it's the NFL draft. It's an exciting time. Everyone always feels good. I never really find people who are like, our draft stinks. There might be a few people out there like that. But you know what? The Panthers don't have to worry about thinking like, man, we blew our first round pick today.
Well, speaking of first round picks, let me try to do this really quick when I get out of the way.
Sure.
Shout outs to one of the Panthers' first round misses, who's doing something amazing in his life right now.
Who's that?
Devin Funchess.
Oh, Funches.
First NFL player to make the jump and become a pro basketball player. He signed a 1-year deal with a pro team in Colombia. Shout outs to him. You didn't make it work with the Carolina Panthers. Maybe you can work it on that 1-year deal in Colombia. You dropped a lot of passes. You ran a lot of wrong routes. You were slow. But, boy, we're happy for you.
Hey, you know what?
We're happy for you.
Hit your free throws, man. Hit your free throws. You might have yourself a future. Well, speaking of wide receivers, apparently there's a lot of depth at the position. That's what all the experts are saying. A lot of depth at the position in this draft. And there might be some teams that might reach for, I say lack of a better term, reach. We're like, hey, you know what? Let's get our offensive tackle here in the first round because in the second round, wide receivers are going to be there. So some other positions might get reached for, which the Carolina Panthers need help at wide receiver massively. I know they got Deontay Johnson in a trade with the Steelers this offseason, but it wouldn't shock me if during the course of this draft, especially with one of their first 2 picks that they have in the early in the second round, that over the course of the draft, they draft at least 2 receivers. I think they draft 2, Chris. I think that's actually a good move if they draft 2. 1 in the second round, 1 in maybe the 5th.
I'm with you. And for some of the points that you just made, they don't have to reach for a receiver because, somebody good is going to fall to them. And as you said, this is a deep draft when it comes to receiver. And a lot of times what makes teams good is what you do up front and what you do with your quarterback. So the teams that are going to reach either need a quarterback, they need an edge rusher, they need an offensive lineman, a left tackle or something, in that realm. They're not going to reach a lot just to get up and get the receiver that they're looking at, right? Unless maybe it's a Dunze or Marvin Harrison Jr. But even with those guys, I don't think too many teams are going to actually reach for them and decide to move up for them. So I think that the Panthers are good where they're at. Stay at 33. You don't have to move into the first round.
No.
You might even be able to move back a couple of picks.
Yeah.
Because you do pick at 39 as well and get a couple more picks back just so you can have more draft capital either for this year or for next year. But I think they're in a really good spot. And if I were them, if they stay at 33 or if they move back and he's still available wherever they're at, Xavier Legette, man.
I know that's
Xavier
the hot
Legette,
name.
bro.
That's the hot name that's floating around out there. And the reason why I brought up that Dan Morgan should be active today, the first round of the NFL draft today here on Thursday, is because he should be fielding phone calls for teams where, let's say, like a quarterback slides down in the draft and like there's a team that wants to move up to take Bo Nix, Michael Penix or something like that. He should be active fielding phone calls and let other teams get in a bidding war. Like that's what he should be doing as the draft progresses. I have a gut feeling that teams like the Buffalo Bills, the fact that they traded Stephon Diggs and then Gabe Davis is no longer there, they're going to need a wide receiver. The Kansas City Chiefs needed a wide receiver anyway, and then the whole stuff with Rasheed Rice and his legal situation off the field with the 8 felony counts or whatever he has going on. They're going to be taking a receiver anyway. So some of these guys might get drafted, picks, 28 through 32, but you never know. There still is going to be a plethora of really good, talented wide receivers there at 39. If you can move down to get more picks, you might even get a second-round pick next year for a team that wants to move up to pick 33. You know what? Take it. Take it, because you need as much draft capital as possible, and you can still get talented players in the process.
Absolutely. It'll be good for him to try to get as much out of this process as possible. The next best thing to not having a first round pick is to have the first pick of the second round.
Yeah.
Because essentially
it's a very valuable pick.
Essentially, that person is a first rounder as far as their talent is concerned. But they're not going to be as expensive as a first rounder. But you're going to get somebody who's super talented in what they're doing, and it could probably add as much value to your team as a first rounder could. So I'm excited to see what ends up happening for them. And as far as like I talked about Xavier Legette, because the way I see it now, you have Deontay Johnson, you have Adam Thielen, you don't have that tall guy, the tall burner on the team. You don't have that Julio Jones, you don't have that Mike Evans type of guys. And I'm talking about these guys when they were in their prime. Mike Evans still a really good receiver, but I'm talking about them when they were like really at the top of their game when they were younger guys. The Panthers don't have that guy, and they haven't had that guy really since Musa and Muhammad. You know what I'm saying? Like the tall burner guy that you can really count on. That's really the last time. You were kind of counting on it with Devin Funchess. Didn't happen. You're kind of counting on it with Kelvin Benjamin.
Kelvin Benjamin.
So now this is the time to go after it. And I think that is probably what you need. You got Deontay Johnson, Adam Thielen, both of them. I wouldn't say short. I wouldn't call Adam Thielen a short guy for, by any stretch of imagination. Legit 6 feet, 6'1" in that range. But having somebody who is a 6'3" guy who can run a 4.3, it could jump with the best of them and has an awesome accent, by the way. He's going to be great in the interview room.
Yeah.
Why not get Xavier Legette?
Yeah, a lot of people that name keeps popping up a whole bunch. So, but nonetheless, like they need to, again, I think they could draft a couple. You never know. Like a guy like Tez Walker could slide down into the draft for you, who's 6'2", 6'3" from North Carolina, reign of the 4.3s as well, can stretch down the field as well. You never know. That guy can fall down to you in the draft as well. So you never know how things are going to shake out. But I think knowing that you have that depth can allow Carolina for pick 39 or even early in the third round to go get a cornerback. Like, because they need help at corner, they need depth at corner. Even if it's a guy you got to develop for a year or two to take over, if you don't bring back J.C. Horn in the future or Dane Jackson just doesn't work out, you still need depth at corner. I would not mind them drafting a center, because after Austin Corbett, after this season, what's the long-term plan there? But also a tight end as well. Like, there are a lot of holes that this team needs to fill, and I think they're pretty good position to fill a lot of those spots. And again, I think corner is also a massive need. If wide receiver should be one of your first picks in the second round, corner should be the other one.
Yeah, pretty much. One of the things I follow all of the beat writers who come out of Charlotte, and when practice started for the Panthers this week, Mike Kay for the Charlotte Observer noticed, certain things. There are 70 players on the roster as of when practice started. He noticed that it was light at quarterback, which, Dave Canales said that he would like to have a third quarterback on the team, not somebody who is newer, but somebody else who has experience like Andy Dalton. He'd rather surround Bryce with two experienced guys than to, basically have him with one experienced guy and another guy who's basically trying to make his way in the NFL.
The Case Keenums are always out there.
Guys like that. So it'll be interesting to see who they try to reach for free agency like that. But then in the draft, you need more interior defensive linemen. You need more interior linebackers. You need, the outside linebackers, the edge rushers there. I know that we have Wanham and Chason, Calebon Chason, and also Jadeveon Clowney, and all that. But, Clowney, probably a year or two he'll be there. Chase on, he's on a prove-it deal, 1-year deal. Wanham, is he going to really work out long-term? We don't know. So go ahead and try to find that next guy that you can draft and develop. Mm-hmm. You reached for somebody last year. We won't talk about that. And then, as you said, cornerback, because it is going to be very light there. So there are a lot of holes to fill for the Panthers. So going back to what me and you both said originally, if somebody is sitting at like 42 and like, hey, I want to jump up to 33 really quick, Panthers, will you take the 42 for me in our third round this year? Cool. That's just one more pick that you have right there to fill in some of those holes, and that could help you out, and you're not really losing a lot of space in the draft.
Yeah, you're really not. I'm going to float this one out there to you. The running back room's the same as it was last year. Chuba Hubbard, Miles Sanders, Raheem Blackshear, those three guys are all set to come back. Who's to say they don't take like a flyer on a guy in the 7th round at running back? Or even, like, for example, like let's go local Charlotte kid. Will Shipley came out of Clemson this past year. What if he's sitting there in round 6? You take a flyer on that guy? Like, do you take a flyer on a running back to maybe, I don't know, this guy could be a decent pass catcher and third down back possibly and challenge Raheem Blackshear, for a spot? Do you think they possibly go that route to try and, you never know, because good running backs that are effective in the NFL are found in the late rounds undrafted all the time. Like, when you look at guys like Austin Eckler, you never know what you're going to find there in those later spots. Do you think they might go running back and possibly in one of the late rounds?
I wouldn't be surprised, and that's one of the things that Canales and Morgan have talked about is not being complacent at any position. Mm-hmm. You need to make sure that you're pushing the competition and seeing how you can improve each position every single year. And so, am I comfortable with the 3 that we had last year coming back for this year? Yeah, but it could always be better.
Yeah.
And again, I've said this plenty of times on this podcast. They all have the same profile. They're all between 5'9" and 6 feet tall and 205 to 215 pounds.
Yeah.
Let's get the guy who, I don't care if he's 6 feet tall, I don't care if he's 5'11", but he's 230, 240, and he can move the pile. Because again, this has been a problem for the Panthers for the last few years. What is your plan on 4th and 1, on 3rd and 1? It's like once Cam Newton wasn't a part of the team, it's like that type of planning just wasn't there. Like, what are we going to do in this case? Bryce Young is not the guy that you want to have taking those quarterback sneaks with as small as he is. You want to protect him as much as possible, and you put him in harm's way too much last year. So you don't want to have him do that. So who's the guy that can move the pile? Chuba Hubbard is a really good guy, really good running back. Miles Sanders and Raheem Blackshear.
Yeah.
But who's going to move the pile on 3rd and 1, 4th and 1? And so look at that. That is something to definitely look at.
I think the additions on the interior of the offensive line with Hunt and Lewis, those signings at guard, are going to help with that for sure. Because now you're going to have a push on the interior offensive line.
But you also need that guy who can go shoulder to shoulder with that linebacker and move that guy.
Exactly.
Who can hit that interior defensive lineman. Yeah, he's 330 pounds, but I have enough force in the way I'm running and also like putting it in his chest, in the middle of his chest, to move him a few inches. We've seen those replays on television. I can move you a few inches, and there's the line right there, and I got the line to gain, and we have a first down. That's going to be very important, and you need a stocky guy to do that.
Few inches makes a difference.
Thick guy.
A thickness and a few inches makes a massive difference. That can keep things moving. It's amazing how all that can play out. But there are a lot of different things. There are a lot of different things that can play out. But I think the 3 primary positions to target: wide receiver, corner, center. I think those are the 3 ones, and then I'll put center / tight end actually, because I still think they need more than just Ian Thomas and Tommy Tremble. Yeah. Stephon Sullivan showed some flashes as a pass catcher, but they still need a number 1 tight end in my mind.
Yeah.
Or at least someone they can develop to be a pass catching tight end. So that's to me: wide receiver, cornerback, center. I'll even throw tight end in there as well. Give me 3 or 4 positions that they should absolutely target here in this draft.
Wide receiver for sure. Cornerback for sure for me. And I agree with you on center, but just to say something different, linebacker.
Sure. Okay.
Josie Jewell made it very clear he's here only because of Ejiro Evero.
Yeah.
Right? If Ejiro Evero has a new job, he's a head coach somewhere next year, where does Josie Jewell fit in, especially if somebody brings in another scheme that maybe he won't be the best in? Maybe the Panthers will end up looking to cut him or trade him at that point. Shaq Thompson is only getting older at this point.
He's on the final year of his contract too.
That as well. Mm-hmm. We lost Frankie Louvu, who is going to be the future at inside linebacker. So that's something to really look into. And somebody like Dan Morgan, who is a part of a good string of good linebackers with the Carolina Panthers. Dan Morgan, Beeson, Thomas Davis, Kuechly, those guys. And then all of us, it's Shaq Thompson, and then it stops. So who's coming after that? And I think that is something really to look into for the Carolina Panthers for sure. It may not be this year, but you're going to have to really look into that.
Yeah, it's they need to find that next one. And don't forget Sam Mills. Throw him in that mix there too.
No, for sure. Yeah, I started with Dan and just kind of went
the OG of them, Sam Mills himself. But nonetheless, it's an exciting time. I think the Panthers are going to be active, but in a good way. I don't see them making the trades up in the draft. I don't see them doing that. I think as Dan Morgan has realized, we've done a lot of that over the last few years, and it has not worked out. Yeah. Let's get some impact players. I think their first 3 picks, the 2 in the second round and the 3rd round pick, those 3 guys got to be starters / contributors right away. Simply put, they have to be impact players right away. Whether it's maybe it's Leggett, might be the 3rd wide receiver to start things off in the year. That's fine. But you play 3 wideouts 70% of the time in the NFL nowadays anyway. So yeah, he's going to be an impact player. A cornerback that can play right away. A tight end or an offensive lineman that can be an impact player right away. You got to find 3 guys that can contribute right away with your first 3 picks. Simple as that.
I'm 100% in agreement with you when it comes to that, because all those positions that we named, I mean, honestly, if you just look at the future, if you just looked and said 5 years from now, what are the Panthers going to have that's currently on their roster? You look at what guard, possibly quarterback, and
cross fingers your left tackle.
and cross fingers left tackle.
Yeah, cross fingers left tackle.
And that's pretty much about it. So like this isn't just a draft to just fill in the holes. This isn't just a draft to, like, hey, maybe if we get a few pieces here and there, we're at the next level. No, this is for the future. These are the guys that are going to take the Carolina Panthers into the 2030s. It might sound weird saying it like that because we're only in 2024.
That's the hope.
But who's going to take this team into the 2030s? That's literally what Dan Morgan has to be thinking about. Who's going to make sure that we have success as the 2020s are coming to the end?
You're not drafting for 2024. You're drafting for 24, 25, 26, 27. The 4 years of that contract. Can I get those guys on my team for all 4 years and then sign them in 27 so I can have them for 28, 29, and 2030?
Who's the next guy? Who's the next guy we're going to put in the Panthers Ring of Honor in 2042? You got to think about it like that. If this person, are we going to be able to put this person in our Ring of Honor? If you don't feel that way with your 2nd and 3rd round picks on Friday, don't get them. Get somebody that you feel like you can put in that Ring of Honor one day.
Yeah, you hope those guys play for your franchise for 10 years. Simple as that.
Yep.
Contributors, starters, hopefully stars. But we'll have to wait and see, Chris, because they don't draft today. We're gonna have to wait till tomorrow. But don't worry, Chris, we're gonna have a recap after the draft this weekend.
Just really quick, I want to say the one thing I am very interested in is what kind of value they pick up on the undrafted free agent market. Because
that's a big thing too.
That is, you can find some gems there, and I do feel like the Panthers haven't done that very well over the last few years. There are some teams that can find those gems in the undrafted free agent market. Now, a lot of those guys are undrafted for a reason, but there are potential NFL Hall of Famers and potential Pro Bowlers that are waiting in the undrafted free agent market. You just got to make sure you find them and get them in Charlotte and keep them in Charlotte.
Frankie Louvu was an undrafted free agent. Austin Eckler, who signed up, remember correctly, with the Commanders this offseason. Great career with the Chargers leading up to that. Undrafted free agent. Like, you can find those guys out there. You know what? You might be able to find that big bruising running back that you talked about. He might be an undrafted free agent. You never know. But yeah, sign everyone. That's where your scouting and your research comes in. Simple as that. But we'll see. Chris, we'll have another Chris and I, we will have another recap episode for you all about the NFL draft and what the Carolina Panthers did sometime after the NFL draft. So make sure you stay subscribed here on the Fans YouTube page or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Subscribe. Again, hit the like button and also follow us as well. It's a great time having you guys. And leave your thoughts in the comment section. We want to know your thoughts. Leave it in the comments and we'll interact with you there. Chris, happy birthday to you, sir. I know a little late. I said on the last episode, but I'm going to say it to you again. It's still the month of April. Happy birthday to you.
It's still there. I mean, I'm 2 weeks into it, but it's still there. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right. Till next time, y'all be good.